Hello friends, welcome back to Relief Tutorials. In the previous lectures we have discussed about different separation methods of mixture. Now let us see exercise. Please open the textbook. Now question number 1. Which separation techniques will you apply for separation of the following? Some mixtures are given and you have to give the idea that which separation method you will use for that. Question number 1. A is the mixture of sodium chloride from its solution of water, means NaCl dissolved in water. The mixture of these two is given to you. How will you separate it? So I think it's very easy to understand that this is a volatile substance. So evaporation method can be used, and also for the further purification of NaCl we can use crystallization process. So the answer is evaporation and crystallization. Mixture B is given as ammonium chloride and sodium chloride. How can you separate ammonium chloride? Formula for ammonium chloride is NH4Cl and NaCl. So ammonium chloride is one type of sublime. So the process which is used to separate it is sublimation process. See small pieces of metal in the engine oil of a car. So pieces of metals and engine oil of a car, obviously these pieces of metals, oil is a liquid state and pieces of metal is in solid state. So this can be separated easily by filtration, because pieces of metal are solid in state, they can be easily separated by filtration process. D. Different pigments from an extract of flower petals. Pigments of color to be separated from the petals of flower. So here we are going to separate the colors, so chromatography. Next is butter from curd. Already we have seen this example. Butter from curd can be separated by centrifugation process. Next is we have to separate oil from water. Oil and water both are immiscible liquids. So when these two get mixed up, they can be separated by using separating funnel method. Next is tea leaves from tea. How will you separate tea leaves from tea? So I think it's very easy to understand that they can be easily separated by filtration process. Next, we have to separate iron pins from sand. So iron pins are magnetic, so they can be separated by magnetic separation method. Then we have fine mud particles suspended in water. Find mud particles. Mud particles are actually the particles of clay. So they can be separated using alum. So first of all, alum means fatakri is added. So that process is called as loading and decantation. In the last lecture, we have seen that how the water is get purified from the water reservoir. So loading means what? You add alum particles, so the clay particles which are actually negatively charged in the mud, they get neutralized, they come together, they converted into solid pieces and they decanted. Decanted means they can be settled down at the bottom. So this is question number 1. Question number 2. Question number 2 is write the steps you would use used for making tea. Use the words solution, solvent, solute, dissolve, soluble, insoluble, filtrate and residue. Means you have to describe that how will you prepare tea at home. So what we will do, the first one is what? We will take some water, and water is acting as a solvent. So water is a solvent and heat it. Then we add sugar which is soluble in water. So we have used the word solvent. Sugar is a solute which is soluble in water, which dissolves in water. Dissolves. Then what we do? The mixture which is obtained is called as solution. Then what we do? Then we add tea leaves in the solution for some time. Then we add milk and boil it. Then what we do, once the tea is prepared, now filter the mixture. Filter the mixture through tea strainer. Okay, and collect filtrate. Filtrate means the soluble substance, the tea which we collect in the cup. Okay, collect the filtrate in a cup and insoluble tea leaves left behind, called as residue. So we have tried to use each and every word given in the question. Okay, this was question number 2. Now question number 3. Look at the question. Open your textbook. Pragya tested the solubility of 3 different substances at different temperatures. Actually 4 different substances, because in the question there are 4, in the table there are 4 substances. So there is a printing mistake in the question. Okay, 4 different substances at different temperatures and collected the data. Results are given in the following table as grams of substance dissolved in 100 grams of water. Okay, now look at the table. There are 4 different substances: potassium nitrate, sodium chloride, potassium chloride, ammonium chloride. At 5 different temperatures, she has obtained the saturated solutions at 283 Kelvin temperature, 293 Kelvin temperature, 313 Kelvin temperature, 333 and 353. All the substances are dissolved in water, in that 200 grams of water. So look at the table. Potassium nitrate at 283 Kelvin temperature. Look at the question, please, everybody, from your textbook. Potassium nitrate, 21 gram of potassium nitrate is dissolved at 283 Kelvin temperature in 100 gram of water. 32 gram of potassium nitrate is dissolved at 293 Kelvin temperature in 100 gram of water, and so on. All the observations are given. Remember, this is the data given at different temperatures in 100 gram of water only. Now, regarding this table, we have some questions that we can find from the table only. The first question A: what mass of potassium nitrate would be needed to produce a saturated solution of potassium nitrate in 50 grams of water? From the table, potassium nitrate at 313 Kelvin, 62 gram. At 313 Kelvin, 62 gram of potassium nitrate is dissolved in 100 gram of water. This is the observation from the table, but the question is, if you want to obtain the solution of 50 gram of water, in place of 100 gram of water, you need only 50 gram of water, then what mass of potassium nitrate would be dissolved? Obviously, here we required the half of the solution, so half of the solute is required. So answer would be simple. 62 by 2 means 31 gram required for 50 gram of water. For 100 gram of water, 62 gram of potassium nitrate can be dissolved at 313 Kelvin temperature. So at the same temperature, if you have only 50 gram of water, you can dissolve only 31 gram of potassium nitrate. B question is, Pragya makes a saturated solution of potassium chloride. In the table, potassium chloride is a third substance. In water at 353 Kelvin. 353 Kelvin potassium chloride. Look at the table. 54 gram. According to table, 54 gram potassium chloride. Potassium chloride means KCl is dissolved in 100 gram water at 353 Kelvin. This is the observation. Now the question is, what would she observe as the solution cools? The temperature is 353 Kelvin right now. If the temperature decreases, the amount of solute which is dissolved in the solution also decreases. So what would she observe if she cool the temperature? If she cool the solution, so what she will observe? She will observe that in the solution, as the temperature decreases, she will see some amount of potassium chloride reappears in the form of crystals. The process is called as crystallization process. So she will observe that some crystals of KCl is seen. She will observe that some amount of KCl is reappeared, recrystallized in the solution. More precisely, we can say, look at the table. At 353 Kelvin temperature, 54 gram of KCl is dissolved. Let us assume that the temperature decreases to 333. If the temperature decreases to 333, in the table, it is given that at 333 Kelvin temperature, 46 gram of KCl can be dissolved. So at 333 Kelvin temperature, 46 gram of KCl is dissolved. And the remaining 54 minus 46 means 8 gram of KCl is crystallizes out. This way. Next question. C. Find the solubility of each salt at 293 Kelvin. Which salt has the highest solubility at the temperature? In the table it is given at 293 Kelvin temperature. Look at the table. At 293 Kelvin temperature, potassium nitrate 32 gram is dissolved in 100 gram of solution. Sodium chloride 36 gram. Potassium chloride 35 gram. Ammonium chloride 37 gram. So the solubility of ammonium chloride is maximum at the given temperature. At the temperature 293 Kelvin. So that is the easy one. D. What is the effect of change of temperature on the solubility of any one of the salt? So it's quite easy to understand that as the temperature decreases, they are asking as the temperature decreases, solubility decreases, and as the temperature increases, solubility increases. So that was question number 3. Question number 4 now. Explain the following examples. Explain the following words, you can say. The first one is given as saturated solution. So what do you mean by saturated solution? In the theory part we have done this, then also let me recap it. Saturated solution is the solution in which maximum solute is dissolved at a given temperature for a given amount of solvent. That is called as saturated solution. Another word is pure substance. Pure substance. In the last lecture we have discussed this. Pure substance means the substance which is made up of only one type of molecules. So based on that we have described that pure substance means either it may be element or it may be compound. All the mixtures are impure substance. See the word colloid. Colloid are the solute particles which are bigger than molecules and smaller than suspended particles. They can create Tyndall effect, they can scatter the light. Then the word is suspension. Suspension is the mixture of two substances in which solute is not dissolved in solvent. Such type of solution is called as suspension. Question number 5. Classify each of the following as a homogeneous or heterogeneous mixture. The examples are soda water. Soda water is a mixture of water and carbon dioxide gas which is thoroughly mixed with each other. So that is called as homogeneous. Then one is wood. The density of wood is not same everywhere, so it is heterogeneous. Air. Air is homogeneous. All the gas is present everywhere. Then soil. Composition of soil is not same everywhere, so again it is heterogeneous. Then it is vinegar. Vinegar, I think this substance we use to preserve foods. So vinegar is also the homogeneous mixture. It is a mixture of acetic acid and water. Then it is filtered tea. It's not tea only, it is filtered tea. Once you filter the tea leaves are taken out. So now the filtered tea is a homogeneous mixture. Unfiltered tea is not homogeneous because it contains tea leaves present here and there. So it is a heterogeneous, but it is a filtered tea. So it is a homogeneous mixture. Question number 6. How would you confirm that a colorless liquid given to you is pure water? Colorless water, I think the tap water which we use at home is also colorless. But it doesn't mean that if it is colorless means pure. It may have some dissolved salt in that or some other impurities maybe. But how will you confirm that it is pure only? So see, once the water is pure, its boiling point is 100 degrees Celsius. So if you have the sample of colorless water, you just boil it and note down the temperature. If water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, if water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, then the water is pure. And if water is not boiling at 100 degrees Celsius, it may or may not, if it boils at more than 100 or less than 100 temperature, so it means there are some impurities present. Because pure substance always maintain their property. So pure water having the boiling point 100 degrees Celsius means at 100 degrees Celsius water converts from liquid state to gaseous state. So if it happens, it is the pure water. Question number 7. Which of the following materials fall in the category of pure substance? First one is ice. Ice is the solid form of water, so it's pure only. Then milk. Milk is a mixture, so it is impure. Iron particles is element, so it is pure. Hydrochloric acid. For your information, hydrochloric acid is a mixture of water plus HCl. So it is a mixture, so it is not pure, means it is impure. Calcium oxide. Calcium oxide, chemical formula is CaO. It's only one type of molecule, so it is pure. Mercury element, obviously it is pure. Brick is a mixture of sand and some other substance, so it is impure. Wood, obviously impure. Air is made up of many gases, so it is also impure. Question number 8. Identify the solutions among the following mixtures. Type of solution we have to give soil. It's heterogeneous. Just recently we have seen this. It's a heterogeneous type of mixture. Seawater. Seawater. So I think seawater having water and common salt dissolved in that. So I think it's a homogeneous mixture. Salt dissolved in seawater in the even amount. Then air again is a homogeneous mixture, so it is homogeneous. Then it is coal. So coal is also having carbon, sulfur, nitrogen, oxygen present in that. So it is nothing but the homogeneous because it is made up of such type of substance everywhere. Then E is soda water. Soda water is again the homogeneous mixture. Question number 9. Which of the following will show the Tyndall effect? Tyndall effect, what do you mean by Tyndall effect? It is the scattering of light. Tyndall effect means scattering of light due to colloid particles. So Tyndall effect is only shown by colloidal solution. So the first example is salt solution. Salt solution is the true solution, so it is not colloidal, so it will not show any Tyndall effect. Then we have milk. We know that milk is a colloidal solution, so it will show Tyndall effect. Then we have copper sulfate solution. Copper sulfate solution is also true solution, so it is not going to show any Tyndall effect. Starch solution, the starch particles are colloid particles, so starch solution will show the Tyndall effect. Question number 10. Classify the following into elements, mixture and compound. Elements, mixtures and compounds. The first one is sodium, so sodium is element, symbolically Na. Then soil, soil is a mixture of many substances. Third is sugar solution, so I think again it is a mixture, sugar solution. Then silver, silver is element, symbolically Ag. Calcium carbonate, compound, CaCO3. Tin, symbolically Sn. Element, silicon, Si. Element. Coal is a mixture. Then we have air, air is also the mixture. Soap is also the mixture. Soap is compound, Soap is compound. Methane, having the chemical formula CH4, it is compound again. Carbon dioxide, CO2, compound. Blood is a colloidal mixture. Last question number 11. Which of the following are chemical changes? Yesterday in the last lecture we have seen the physical and the chemical change. Chemical change in which the substance chemical property changes. So the first one is growth of plant. Growth of plant, I think it's a chemical change. Just we have to identify which are the chemical change. So it is a chemical change. Rusting of iron, it's a chemical change again, in which the iron reacts with oxygen in presence of water vapor. It is non-reversible. Once the iron gets rusted, it cannot be converted into pure iron. We know the chemical change is irreversible. So once it happens, it is very complicated to, for example, the plant once grow, it cannot be again converted into siblings. Then mixing of iron fillings and sand. It's a mixing of iron and sand is not the chemical change, it is a physical process. Next is cooking of food. Obviously, it is irreversible, so it's a chemical change. Once you cook the food, it cannot be converted into raw vegetables or flour. Digestion of food is also the chemical process. Digestion of food is also the chemical change. Freezing of water. So I think it is the physical change, because once the water freezes, it can again be converted into water. So it's a physical change, it is not the chemical change. And the last one, burning of candle. Burning of candle, so it's a chemical change. Burning is always the chemical change. So that's all about the chapter. Please be prepared. Best of luck.